All right. Well, hello, everyone. And thanks again for tuning into the Jazziz Happy Hour. Now, if this is your first time joining us for the Jazziz Happy Hour, thanks very much for tuning in. If you're one of our longtime viewers from back in the Jazziz brunch days, welcome back. It's great to see you again. If you are my wife, thank you for the haircut. Was in sorely in need of one, so appreciate it. Trying to look good for you guys on camera here. Anyway, for those of us who have been watching since the Jazziz brunch days, which we started, hard to believe, but back in April, seems like an eternity ago. We sure are glad you followed us along to Jazziz Happy Hour. It's everything you love about the Jazziz brunch show: the music, the great conversation. Only now, instead of coffee, we're drinking beer, and I've got myself a Funky Buddha hop gun here from Florida. When in Florida, drink as the Floridians do. And anyway, I can't think of a better person to share a beer with than today's very special guest. We're going to be starting things out with saxophonist Eric Alexander. Now, if you listen to straight ahead jazz these days, if you listen to jazz in the bebop, post-bop vein today, you've heard Eric Alexander. He is a staple of the iconic Smoke Sessions Records label. He has played with everybody from Harold Mayburn, the great Harold Mayburn, who we lost last year, to Joe Lovano, to Rufus Reid. He is all over the place, and he just released a new album with strings. He's entering the Jazz with Strings canon, which is with his new release, and I got to tell you, it is excellent. After we talk to Eric for a bit, we're going to get to hear him play a little bit. We are going to be speaking with the founders of the Jazz Coalition. This was a group that came together very recently to deal with some of the fallout that independent jazz musicians are having to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic. So they're going to talk about problems that independent musicians face and how people like you and me can help. We're going to get into all of that great content in a minute, but first I'd like to thank some of this episode's sponsors. So thank you to Concord Records. They have a new album out right now called Ella 100, live at the Apollo. It's available for streaming and purchase. This was a live recording from 2016, featuring some superb performances by the likes of Andra Day, Ledisi, Liz Wright, Cassandra Wilson, Monica Mancini, and the absolutely swinging Count Basie Jazz Orchestra led by Scotty Barnhart. It was hosted by Grammy Award-winning vocalist Patty Austin and Tony Award-nominated actor and singer David Alan Grier. Like I said, it's available for purchase right now. It's a live album, so it's really good to just, pop on the record player, put on the pair of headphones, maybe pour yourself a drink, and be taken away to another time and place. It's really good. For more information, visit concord.com. And we are also brought to you by Blue Sound. We're all working from home. A lot of us are listening to a ton of music. I know I certainly am. Blue Sound is an award-winning wireless high-res sound system that lets you play music in any and every room throughout your home. You just choose music from your favorite streaming service or from a library, connect to your home network, control where, at what volume, and when the music plays via a free Blue OS app for your smartphone, tablet, or desktop computer. And that's it. Getting the kind of crisp and detailed sound that only an audiophile grade system can deliver has never been easier. That is how you live hi-fi. You can learn more at bluesound.com or by checking out our website, jazziz.com, where we have put together a Blue Sound buyer's guide. May I also remind you, people watching on Facebook, we encourage you to drop us a line, say hello to me, to Eric Alexander. Feel free to ask a question. We will get to those on air. And I guess that's it for me. Without further ado, let's go ahead and bring in today's very special guest, Eric Alexander. Eric, you there, man?
Yeah, I'm not sure I like the way I look, but I'll let that go.
You look great, man. At least your hair is short. Mine, as viewers will remember, was starting to fro out on me, and I got my wife to rein in it a little bit. But no, you look great, man.
Well, I got a better gift than that. I'll
tell
you, since you brought it up. My son cut my hair.
Oh,
that created a little controversy in my household, but I needed him to show me that he really loved me, and he cut my hair very well. So that was a great gift for me.
He did a fantastic job, man. The only thing I said to my wife was just try to make me look like I have more of it. I have 2 kids now, so my hairline is, receding as every year they get older. But I think
Brian, I got to tell you something now. This is important. I was letting my hair. It was growing further forward in the front. The problem is I'm trying to hide something that I shouldn't be ashamed of, which is my hairline. My son pulled it all the way back. I don't even have a 4-head now. I've got a 5-head, and I'm proud.
Yes, as you should be, man. It's a good look. And we are talking to you from home in New York City. You live in
Bronx, New York.
The Bronx, New York. My old stomping grounds of Riverdale.
Well, that's where I live. This is serendipitous, Brian. Let's move on.
I think Eric, I caught you one time. You didn't even know it at Anne Bach, that great Irish bar out there.
I was waiting for you to bring it up.
It was one of those lost moments or whatever.
No, I remember it well.
Oh, you remember well? Okay, very cool, man. Well, it is great to hear. I've been spinning the new album a lot, man. The new album with strings, and yeah, I want to kind of start on that note because, there's just something about that bebop language, the language you speak so well, and a string accompaniment. So I'm curious, we all know the great with strings albums, Charlie Parker, Clifford Brown, Ben Webster. As you were doing your audio research for this new album, were there any underrated with strings albums that you came across that you thought, wow, man, I kind of want to maybe get into that?
They're not underrated. If they're underrated, I wasn't aware of that.
Shame on the Raiders.
I mean, Shirley Horn, Here's to Life.
Yeah.
Was it Here's to Life? I can't even remember, with Johnny Mandel arrangements, or Klaus Ogerman's arrangements to João Gilberto. I mean, there are so many. One truth that needs to be told: if you listen to Nelson Riddle conducting an orchestra with Frank Sinatra from the early 60s. Yeah, that was live in the studio. That doesn't happen anymore, Brian. And I want to make that very clear. I almost felt guilty. But the truth is, there has not been one record with strings made since, well, I could be wrong 1% of the time. I'm allowed that. That wasn't done where the quartet or the vocalist wasn't recorded in advance, and then the strings were put in later. And at first I thought, well, I feel guilty. And then I realized, why should I? There's no reason to. Every single thing that's been done like that was done in that way now.
Right.
That having been said, that was a great gift that I received. I've always wanted to be able to be on a recording with strings for so many reasons. It's incalculable. I would waste the whole interview. And I didn't do that of my own accord. Someone else did it for me, and I can never repay them for doing that. It's the highlight of my recording career.
So that's what I'm going to ask: is how did this arrangement come together?
I just told you.
Yeah, somebody just said, "Hey, man, you should do something with strings."
Well, I don't know if the person wants me to give up too much information, but let's just put it this way: that person really valued my my musicianship, and at some point she heard me say something to the effect of, "I would love to be with strings," and then there it was. She did it, not me.
And then, so who was writing the string arrangements? Was that you as well, or just?
Oh, no. It was Dave Ravello. Okay. And he's on the album. I mean, the CD liner notes. I don't know Dave. I've never met him. When I see him, I'll give him a hug. He did a great job.
Yeah, he really couches your sound very nicely. And
to say the least, because sorry to interrupt you, Brian.
No, go ahead.
He's listening to something that already existed, and now his job as an arranger is not to create a template for me to exist. I mean, for me to exist within. He's doing something after it's already been done to dot my I's and cross my T's, which both jobs are hard. But he listened very carefully to what we had already recorded, and it's a masterpiece. And I'm not taking credit for me. Credit to him.
Totally. I mean, and how about the repertoire? Because you have one of my favorite ballads of all time on there, which is Some Other Time.
Thank you.
Did you select the material, or again, was this kind of a group decision?
How can I put it? The woman who started this ball rolling, she's a real jazz lover, and she has good taste. Let me just leave it at that. So she would say, what do you feel like doing? And my thinking was, I love so many tunes that people don't play that often, and I'm not sure why they don't. For instance, if you go into a jazz club and someone has a ballad feature, they'll play I Can't Get Started or Body and Soul.
Right.
I'm not trying to diminish how great those tunes are, but enough's enough. There's a lot of other stuff out there, and I think people forget that. There are diamonds hiding right in front of us. So I wanted to grab, unearthed gems. And she approved of each and every one of them. I didn't even have to ask twice. So those are my choices, with the exception of my original, which I did not want to have on there, and she insisted. So God bless her for that.
Oh, well, that's a great tune as well, man. Hey, I know you've got the axe close by. While we're here, while we're talking about, rare gems. Might you want to play something that either from the album or,
Okay.
again, a melody that
You know
you
what?
feel deserves wider recognition?
You want me to play something on my saxophone? Can I play something on the piano that
You
deserves
can play
wider
whatever
recognition?
you want, man.
Because
We just want to hear you play.
the truth is, I haven't touched that damn piece of metal. Let me put it this way. If you read the Andre Agassi autobiography, which of course was trimmed up by his ghostwriter, but nonetheless, it's an autobiography. The first thing he says is he hates tennis, but as you go on, you realize that it's something that he had to do just because.
Right.
But eventually he realized that he was giving a gift by continuing to play, and then he adored what he did. So the saxophone for me is probably the last instrument I would choose if I had to pick today. I mean it.
Wow.
However, I am grateful that I can play it. It's kind of like, as Pat Martino would say, a coffee maker to me, or well, I'm serious. Or
It's just a piece of plumbing. Yeah.
It's just something I know how to use. It doesn't mean I adore it. I would much rather play piano. So
okay, that is your top choice if you had to do it all over again?
1,000% from the bottom of the heart, I'll take a lie detector. Forget it. So, during the pandemic, a lot of time to think. So let me show you something, Brian.
Yeah, man.
Keep me on screen. This is
we got you, Eric.
This is very important to me. I want the jazz world to see this. That's Harold Mason, okay? And he's watching me. That face, wherever you go in my apartment, he's looking at you. Trust me. So,
and he's keeping it soulful for sure, man.
I don't even know if it's soulful. He's looking at me saying, "Hey, look, dummy, remember what I taught you." That's what he's saying. And one of the things he told me was that Richard Rodgers was his favorite composer. So why ask why? Just take it at face value. So during the pandemic, I got the Sound of Music. Why am I doing it? Because he told me. Now, right there, well, I'm not going to go pedagogical. We can if you want.
We could go a little pedagogical. We talk about, like popular science, popular mechanics. We get into pop jazz theory here. So get a scooch. Yeah.
Well, this is maybe jazz theory. This has been around since the dawn of time. It was written in the stars. This doesn't start with jazz, and it doesn't even start with dinosaur bones. Now, that's the chord that makes everyone start crying when Julie Andrews is spinning around on the hill at the opening credits. It's just a triad over a bass note. The triad's a half step below. Don't ask why unless you really want to find out, but you'll get the same answer. It just sounds good. And then, normal stuff, 2/5. Again, that's when everyone starts crying. That's ever. And then, and then, may I continue?
Please, Eric,
okay.
Please.
I'm screwing it up, and it doesn't matter. I'm going to go to the second half of the bridge because it's more important. And then he goes, to sing in the night like a lark who is learning to pray. Now, yeah, maybe it's corny. Not to me. And then I go to now here we go. This is Harold Mabern in a nutshell. And I mean it. That's 4 minor instead of the 2. And this is Harold Mabern. And then we're almost done. And Harold always played this. That's Public Radio International, PRI.
That's right, man. Such an iconic sound from him, man. He will be missed. And he was just one of those cats who, imparted so much knowledge just being on the bandstand with him.
Now, Brian, that's what you just said there is the best thing you've said so far. But no, I'm serious, but there needs to be, let's expound upon that point a little bit. Harold Mabern was the most nurturing human being I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
If anybody didn't get things from him, it's because they were either stupid, afraid of truth and beauty, or whatever's going on in most people's minds. Because if you went to him and asked a question, he would give you an honest answer, and he would give you more than you could have ever hoped for. To his own detriment, really. You know, people took advantage of him because he was so honest, and that's unfortunately kind of true what goes on in daily life. If you look around, really think about it, people that run from beauty and truth are the ones that rule the world.
Yeah, man. I remember talking to Emmett Cohen, another young pianist, who told me he had a lesson with Harold Mabern, and he was expecting to go to Harold's apartment or something like that. Harold said, "Meet me at a McDonald's." And they ordered a cup of coffee, sat there for 2-3 hours. Emmett said he said it was the best lesson he's ever gotten.
I have no doubt.
Didn't touch a piano.
Hey, look, unless Emmett's lying, I have no doubt that it's true anyway, so it doesn't matter. It is true.
And we should mention, I mean, you first linked up with Harold at William Patterson University, right? Yeah. Which is where you were there in the 90s, early 90s?
No, I'm old.
I'm sorry, friend. It's the hair. It's the haircut. I couldn't tell by the hairline, man.
I went to William Patterson in the fall. Well, let's see if you can get this, or any of your sports fans out there. The year after Bobby Knight and Indiana University won their last national championship, I was in Indiana and I left. That was a good time. Talk about time.
I'm not a college football guy. That would have put us where?
Basketball. Girl, Bobby Knight. Okay. Anyway, I was there in the fall of '87. That's when I arrived, and I'm ashamed. Not anymore, but I didn't know who he was. I really didn't. I had no idea because I was ignorant. But whatever he was saying to me, I could tell it was profound, and I realized I'd better frickin' listen. And from that minute, he put me on his shoulders and just carried me around like a baby till he died. That's the truth.
Wow, man. Someone else I've heard you speak with great insight about is George Coleman and his unique approach to harmony on the saxophone. And I'm wondering, you know, if we could get into that, describe what George Coleman does so well. This may be the time to bust out the coffee maker if you feel like it.
I will get the coffee maker, but would you prefer to hear me attempt to explain what he can do, or just let you hear it? Because there's something you've never heard before.
Maybe a little of both, my friend.
Which one first?
Let's hear you explain it first. And
I'll explain it. It didn't. Oh my God. Okay, so we all know this tune. I got rhythm, right?
I got rhythm,
right, Brian? And for those who are not music aficionados, that's what it is. George Gershwin's "I Got Rhythm," probably the chord template most used as a template for contrafacts in the history of music, unless you say blues, but that's not even really a whatever. Who cares? So instead of well, here's what George plays, and he told it to me already. I know this is right. This is new, by the way. This is hard to play. That's 2 8 sections. Does that sound like rhythm changes? No, it doesn't, but it is, and it works. Whether or not the rhythm section plays it, who cares? Do you want to hear the bridge, Brian?
Sure, man. We had a little glitch with the sound. You went like full on robo mode, but it seems to have been resolved. Should
I just start on the bridge for fun, or should I pick up the saxophone?
Let's hear the bridge.
Okay, good. I figured you'd like it. God damn it. That's the bridge, and then one more A. That's rhythm changes, kind of.
George Coleman style.
Yeah, I don't even know what it, all I can say about George Coleman is this. And I mean this, I really mean it. I'm very fond of saying there's nothing new under the sun, but sometimes there is. If you went back to 1944 4, and Don Bias, Chewberry, Herschel Evans, and Lester were sitting around, and you said, hey, check these changes out. I promise you that this would be what everyone plays right now. I have no doubt in my mind. Case closed.
That's what they were hearing even back then. May not have been able to articulate it the way they.
I'm not saying that. You just heard it for the first time. I put it on your Jazziz podcast. What I'm saying is, had that been presented, just like confirmation is Pachelbel's canon, by the way, right? Had people heard this before today, they would already be playing it because it's that good. It is new.
Right.
That's my thing.
Interesting, man. Hey, we've got some questions already on Facebook. People are chiming in, asking. Let's pull up one from Matt here. Eric, why is the Friendly Fire record out of print?
The record or the CD? I don't know, Matt. I have no idea. I don't interact with record producers that often unless it's to talk about what's the next project. I don't know why they do what they do. I have no idea.
Matt is asking away here, and this is our good friend Matt Merowitz, jazz publicist extraordinaire.
Too provocative. You're asking me questions that I can't answer. This is the second one.
Favorite young musicians, mentoring anyone right now?
My favorite. I don't even know what he means. I need context, but let me put it this way: every now and then you encounter a young person who is like a perfect, like a piece of gold that maybe if you can do your best, you can make them better than what they already are. I have a kid. I don't want to say his name because he might screw up, and that's his fault. But he is so talented. It's incalculable. I mean, I almost started crying when I gave him a lesson the other day. He can pick up anything I say within 1 second, and he doesn't know his head from his ass. So yeah, that's who the number one is. And he knows, watching. I'm not mentioning his name. If he's watching, he better listen. Because all right, man. Perhaps if he does not become great, he threw away a gift that he doesn't deserve. Let's leave it that way.
Let me ask you this, man. You are part of a lineage, this bebop, post-bop lineage, which in a lot of ways has its own vocabulary, its own conventions, its own grammar. Is it, harder to quote unquote find your voice in something like bebop language?
No, but I was waiting for this to respond because I know you had good intentions, but I do object to referring with such terms of specificity to things that people play bebop. I don't even know who made these terms up. Whoever made these terms up didn't know anything, really. They were just trying to write something in a newspaper. It's annoying to me. To me personally, it's annoying because there are 12 notes. There are 12 chromatic notes. There are 12 major scales. The major scale has 7 notes. There are 7 days in the week. I mean, how long do I have to go on to convince people that this was already there before you were born and before jazz even existed? It really is pointless to label things. I think Duke Ellington said it right. It's either good or it's bad. We would be much better off if we could realize that with music, it might be the only art form or the only thing that we'll ever be able to say this about. We already know if it's good or bad. And when people try to promote or propagate music that sucks, they are truly evil and they're ruining everything, labeling things and trying to promote stuff that's false. And I mean it. Put a recording of death metal up to a pregnant woman's belly and watch how that baby reacts on a sonogram. Then put Mozart. Case closed. And everyone knows this already. These people trying to talk in circles, they're just taking something away that's so pure and easy to acknowledge. We know what's good and we know what's bad, like a flower or a tree. There's no point in talking about it.
Growing up, before
I ruined that. That's how I feel.
That's it, and we want to hear it, man. I'm curious, as your formative years, before you had gotten heavy into the studious aspect of jazz, who were some of the artists that you knew were good? Who were some of your influences?
Oh, well, the real answer is this. I grew up in Olympia, Washington. Okay. And I used to have this idea that there was something I wanted to hear.
Okay.
Based on, I'm not sure what, maybe playing in jazz band, or maybe occasionally something would be flying through the air that I couldn't grab and listen to. So I'd go try to buy jazz records, and everything they had at the record store was terrible. It didn't appeal to me whatsoever. So it wasn't until I was 18 years old at Indiana University and somebody actually had some great records and started playing them for me To me, that was the end of anything else that I would ever do forever, regardless of what happens, in perpetuity, done. It's like being infected with a disease that's incurable, but it's fun. It's called loving good music. At that moment, I found what I've been looking for my whole life. And from that point on, well, the rest is history, really. I mean, it's weird.
Do you remember some of those records? You know, those just the
that I
same.
heard, you know, okay, so let's go back to the pre-Revelation days. My saxophone teacher, her name was, and I'll give her credit, I'd like to do that right here, Cheryl Edensworth. She lives in Tacoma, Washington still. She gave me Dexter Gordon, Homecoming, Stanley Turrentine, Let It Go, Giant Steps. Well, let's leave it at that. Holy Trinity for me, 3. I love those records so much, I couldn't figure out why I couldn't find any other records that sounded like that. And the reason was because a bunch of jerks promoted a bunch of stuff that I didn't like and that no one likes, unfortunately.
Anyone outside of music that really inspired you to take this career path?
My mother, 100%. My father's a music aficionado, and he's one of these people. Oh, there she is. Thank you, Jeff. That's my mother. And you know what she's doing right there? She's actually breastfeeding me, but I couldn't include that portion of the photo. And she just passed away. So if any, no, but don't be sorry. She's just fine. Trust me. And she knows who the people are that love her. And I'm one of them. I don't know who loves her the most, but I mean, forget it. She was not an aficionado or a talker, but I can remember, before I can remember even a memory of her bouncing me on her knee, you know, listening to music. I have no doubt in my mind that she's the one that gave me whatever this is, why am I here? Because of her. That's it. Case closed. And she forced me to practice piano, but she was smart. Because one day, after crying for 7 years that I wanted to quit, she said, "You want to quit, you little son of a no, quit. See if I care." And she knew it. She'd already gotten me hooked. She said, "Quit." And I said, "I don't want to." Very clever.
The old reverse psychology. Moms are good, man.
Well, look, I'll tell you what Pat Martino told me now. Pat Martino is the greatest guitar player. Well, whatever. I hate these platitudes. He's among the all-time greats. And technically speaking, doesn't even merit discussion, okay? I said, "Pat, how did you get so good?" And he said, "I always wanted to play guitar." Okay. Dad wouldn't let me. Why? He said he was testing me. His dad had a Gibson guitar hiding under his bed, and if Pat went anywhere near it, he'd knock him down. But he did it on purpose. Now, this is extreme. Not necessarily always works, but that's the point. Like, he wanted to be sure that Pat really loved it. When he finally got a guitar in his hands, it took about a year, and he was on the road, literally. So sometimes if people really want something, as long as you don't push it too far, make them want it even more. And when they get it, they appreciate it.
Totally. Look, Pat's a special case. He had to get good at it twice. You know, he had that.
You know what? Pat Martino is literally an angel walking planet Earth. And that's all I have to say. I can't say anything else. For me, if we're talking about Pat, his greatest thing is not his technical prowess. It has nothing to do with that. Believe me, in my mind, he treats music the way that music deserves to be treated, which is that it's already beautiful before you even got to it. Every note has been played. You don't have to even put your personality in there, or at least not willfully. All you have to do is play great notes, and it's good enough. But on top of that, if you do it with purity of heart, that's your personality coming back. You know, people try to approach music with this insistence that they want to have their personality, but music does not need people's personality to be good. It already is good. That's a mistake. I lost the audio there, Brian.
Oh, I'm sorry. Here we go. We're back. An absolutely beautiful point there. And one that you certainly convey on the new album we should mention is Eric Alexander with strings out right now.
May I say 2 things before we hang up?
Because absolutely, my friend.
We've rushed, or no, we haven't rushed. You've tolerated me talking too much.
I've enjoyed it quite a bit, Eric.
This is the bane of my existence. Number one, I want to thank Martin Hummel. You know, the name of his production company escapes me right now. Ubuntu Music. He lives in London. He's the one that facilitated this interaction. So, and he's doing a lot of good things. So I want to thank him. Second of all, if I may, these are trying times. And not just me, most musicians I know, if we look at our calendar, in perpetuity, no gigs, not one, literally, subject to change. Okay. So if there are people out there that enjoy even just hearing what I talk about or listening to my concepts, you know, I have my website set up. It's Eric Alexander Jazz at gmail.com. Sorry to be a promo guy, but
no, please, man. I mean,
desperate times.
yes.
I believe it. And I mean, believe me. And today, just for fun, and this promotes Jazziz too, if you enter a Jazziz promo code, I already set it up, anything there, including lessons, is 10% off. I just want people to look at it because I think there are people that are very eager to continue their studies, but they don't know what to do. And it's not that hard. That's all.
Awesome, man. So it's ericalexanderjazz.com.
Yeah.
Promo code Jazziz.
That's it.
Get a little discount on a lesson or, oh, very cool, man. Yes, please. Now is the time, people listening, you know, to support these musicians, buy the CDs from the websites.
Otherwise, you know what I'm
take the lessons. Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm going to start a live video from Instagram with a virtual tip jar and start begging. I literally prefer not to do that. I prefer to help other people and get paid a little bit. That's what I prefer to do, to have a life.
Totally, man. And we absolutely get, we're going to be talking to the founders of the Jazz Coalition next, who are doing just this, taking special commissions to help independent artists through this crisis. And Eric Alexander.
If I may say one more thing.
Absolutely.
Is so right.
Yeah.
It is so right compared to all the things that are going on that are wrong, that you're trying to keep something out there for people to enjoy, because at the end of the day, if we don't have music, we are screwed. So thank you.
So true. Absolutely our pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much for joining me on the Happy Hour. This is to you, my friend. And perhaps next time it'll be in person at Anvil Bar.
I got
stomping ground.
Brian, yeah. Say something regarding that. I don't drink anymore.
Okay,
I don't drink any less either. And everyone needs something to believe in. I believe I'll have another drink.
Oh, very nicely done. Gotta love a good dad joke. Eric Alexander, thank you so much for joining me on the Jazziz Happy Hour. This has been awesome. ericalexanderjazz.com. Go check it out. Take the lessons. Listen to the new album, Eric Alexander with Strings. It is awesome. Really appreciate it, man.
Thank you, Brian.
So long. All right. Eric Alexander, always just amazing to talk to. And the new album is really, really good. Like I said, it has one of my favorite tracks on it, Some Other Time. And Eric with Strings, it's just a match made in heaven. Anyway, before we get into talking with some of the founders of the Jazz Coalition, I want to take a moment to thank a few more sponsors. Firstly, Mac Avenue Records. This label has been putting us on the road to great music for more than 20 years now, based out of Detroit. To start spinning some of their stuff right now, check out their latest album by Jimmy Green. It's called While Looking Up. You know, we have Eric Alexander on the show. Jimmy is another great tenor saxophonist. Really, really like that album. Or the new Tower Power record, if that's your thing. You know, you feel like getting in that what is hip vibe, check out the new Tower Power record. It is called Step Up. Both are available right now for streaming or purchase. For more info, visit macavenue.com. Thanks also to Smoke Sessions Records, which, like I mentioned, you can find Eric all over albums from this label, as well as the great Harold Mayborn. Their latest album is The Intangible In Between from Orrin Evans and the Captain Black Big Band. Orrin Evans is a pianist. He's also the newest member of the Bad Plus trio. This is his signature big band, so his writing for this band is a little different, but it's just stellar. To hear it for yourself, visit smokesessionsrecords.com. That's where you can find out more about that album. All right. Anyways, I mentioned a little bit earlier, we are going to be bringing in some of the founders here. It looks like one may be having connection issues of the Jazz Coalition. This is a new organization that has emerged in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic to help independent musicians cope with the fallout of, just like Eric said, no gigs, no albums, you know, so they are really doing their part. Let's go ahead and welcome everyone who's here. We have Bryce and we have Gail.
Hey.
Hey there. Hey, Bryce. Hey, Gail.
Hi, how are you?
Thank you so much for joining us. Danny may be backstage, but it looks like he may be having some connection issues. So Danny Melnick, if he's available to come in, we'll certainly bring him in. But let me go ahead and start with some of the issues that Eric Alexander, I don't know if you were watching, just addressed, and see if we can expand on them a little. You know, to us listeners who are sitting at home just listening to music might be unaware of the problems that independent musicians are facing at this very moment. So Gail, can you kind of unpack that a little bit? what specifically are independent musicians going? What are they looking at in the future moving forward?
As I said earlier on another webinar, on March 12th, I represent 8 different acts. On March 12th, I looked at my calendar, and my April and May were looking pretty good. My summer was doing really well. And between March 12th and March 16th, every single date that I had on my books disappeared. So that means that there were 8 different acts who had money coming in that they were going to be able to pay their bills with. And they went from that to wondering how they were going to put food on their tables. And it's really a devastating situation, but my clients are not alone. That's the other thing. Managers, agents, people who are stage managers, road managers, we're all in the same boat. So it's that reason that I was so proud that Bryce and Danny pulled this together and brought me into it, because at least it's us doing something for the musicians.
Right. And Gail, we should mention you are coming this from an entertainment law perspective. You're the artist manager at Gail Boyd Artist Management. Bryce, also there's some music in the background. It's as much as I dig it. Somebody got music going in the background?
No.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's Producer Jeff, you hearing that? Eric. Oh, that's okay. Bryce? No?
I don't think it's me, but hold on.
There it goes. And Bryce, we should mention you are the founder of New York Winter Jazz Fest. Gail brought up a little bit the issues that independent artists are facing. Just complete lack of gigs, lack of touring schedules, album recording sessions being pushed back. So how does the Jazz Coalition, how is it addressing this problem? It's through commission, yes?
Yeah, actually, I just want to step back. Same moment, the same date, essentially, that Gail mentioned, when we started realizing that things need to be pushed back. That's exactly when I started realizing we had to cancel shows, postpone shows. Yeah. I had several projects I was working on that were completely frozen. At first we were postponing shows to the fall. And then, as weeks moved on, we realized we had to push back indefinitely. So, now thinking about Winter Jazz Fest, we're certainly not confident we're going to be able to operate like we normally would. So it might be a hybrid model of something physical and something virtual.
Okay.
But yeah, essentially the idea of Jazz Coalition came up when I stopped working actively, and besides wearing the homeschooling hat and taking care of things around the house, and my wife took over my home office. Properly so, and fortunately feel very privileged that we're in a position where she can continue to work, put food on our tables. And I wanted to also continue to do my part and figure out a way to give back, not being a doctor, not in emergency care or anything, realizing we needed to look at our community and figure out what we can do together. Consulted with Danny and Gail on this idea, and we formulated it together. Worked out the name, worked out the model, and realized more than anything the need to come together in a way, bring together all stakeholders, agents, managers, presenters, labels, artists, especially the artists, get everyone's perspective, everyone's buy-in, and create this initiative to give back, essentially pool resources and inspire through these commissions.
Right. So, and Danny Melnick is here now, just joining us.
Hi,
Absolutely
everybody.
Live entertainment. Good evening to you. And just curious how those of us listening, how can we contribute to this cause if we wanted to do something for independent musicians? What's the best way for us to get involved?
Thank you. Yeah, it's very easy. We have the website set up. You can go to jazzcoalition.org, and there's a donation if you just want to donate any amount. There's a donation portal. Or if you want to become a member, there's a $100 minimum donation.
Okay.
$100 gives you the opportunity to nominate an artist that will potentially will be considered for a commission. And we're also, there's certain other things we're exploring with members that are presenters that have venues. eventually the goal is when we're able to assemble again, that the commission pieces will be premiered at these partner venues. In the meantime, we're exploring different ways of streaming, potentially with partner members, and that may include commissioned artists, and may include other content, and just figuring out other ways that the coalition can serve the community.
Excellent. Danny, have there been any commissions yet? Are we still just kind of getting the ball rolling on
well, we're just getting the ball rolling.
Okay.
We have a jury of 15 people, a whole bunch of artists, prominent artists, and a bunch of folks in the music business, in the jazz business, who are all currently going through the list of artists who have been nominated independently of each other. We're going to pool all that data, hopefully in the next day or two. And our goal is to announce the first 50 $1,000 awardees, hopefully by the end of the week, or certainly by the beginning of next week. And then we want to get in touch with them. We need a little bit of info from them, and then we want to get the money out to them as quickly as possible. And then simultaneously, we believe we'll be able to start the second round of 40 or maybe 50 awardees as well, sometime in the next 2 weeks or so. So our immediate goal was to do the 50 first, and then another 50, and then continue on. Right now, we've raised, I think, close to $80,000. It's been unbelievable. Wow. A lot of people in the community have donated money, including a lot of musicians, quite frankly, and nominating other musicians, nominating their colleagues, nominating their side men and side women. And a lot of people now from the public are starting to donate, because we made this public yesterday. And in the last 24 hours, I mean, Bryce could update this, but as of a few hours ago, we already had $8,000 more that were donated in the last 24 hours. So we just want the public to know, the jazz fans to know, that they are part of this. Like, we are all in this together, whether it's presenter, manager, agent, record label people, club owners, the musicians, the tour managers, the fans, the magazine folks, like the journalists, the photographers. We are all in this together, and we love the audience, and whatever people want to do to help us out and help the musicians out, it would be amazing.
Yeah, and that's my other question to you. Obviously, getting on board with this organization and contributing is a great way to do that. But if people want to just in general help independent musicians in other means through this time, what's the best way to do that? What are some other means that, each of you from your different industry perspectives know, if people just did this, that would really help us flow? Gail, we could start with you.
Well, I've been involved in a lot of webinars lately. I'm also the president of the North American Performing Arts Managers Association, and we've been doing webinars called Wellness Wednesdays, where you can sign on to just hear how you can stay sane during this time, how you can get together with other musicians and talk about what's going on, whether it's virtually or not. And then we have a Moving Forward Monday, where you get financial advice, or you can talk to presenters. I had a webinar today where Tim Jackson from the Monterey Jazz Festival was talking about his 2021 season and the 21-22 season. So those are things that I've been trying to do, is just keep musicians informed about what's going on. There are other opportunities too, where people have been able to get some grants from things. But right now, I feel like the best thing I can do is be a repository of information that I can share.
Totally. And Bryce, how about someone, used to going to a lot of live shows, used to going to something like New York Winter Jazz Fest. Right now, that well has essentially dried up. What can they do for organizations like yours to make sure that there's going to be one for next year?
I'd say, find ways to support the musicians. There's lots of opportunities right now. Musicians are streaming. Venues are starting to, jump in. Blue Note just announced a weekly series where they're going to present artists from home. Jazz Gallery has been doing this already for several weeks. There's a streaming series called Act for Music, where there's an individual curator who invites 4 different artists to perform back to back. And all of these have different models. Some of them are are essentially paywalls, $10 or $20 for Jazz Gallery, Act for Music. I believe it's a $3 minimum donation. I'm not sure what the financial model is for Blue Note. Yeah, I would say, support those musicians in those ways. They're still, just like they're normally on stage, putting themselves out there, wanting that support. We have the opportunity just to continue to go into those streaming rooms and watch them and be enriched and support them. So yeah, I would say there's many opportunities to do that. Also this week, one of our Jazz Coalition members, the Jazz Foundation of America, of course, is doing their big gala on Thursday night.
Right.
We're going to support, of course, spreading the word on what they're doing, because they're a support of ours.
Awesome. I'm curious about the commissions, and I assume they will take various forms, whether, recording, stream, concert. Is that the case? Just
we're determining what that's going to look like.
Okay.
I mean, again, the end result, we hope, is going to be a live performance, a premiere at one of our partner venues.
Okay.
But it's hard to say, for some musicians, that capability may not be realistic in the near to further future. So it may be a streaming experience.
Right. Okay. Danny, nobody has a crystal ball. But looking forward, can you envision some ideal ways that this festival circuit might be able to start opening in, that live concert venues might be able to start opening again? Do you see them operating at half capacity or what have you? I'm sure you've ruminated about this nonstop, probably
27 hours a day.
Exactly.
It is truly extraordinary. I have to say that I know we all, in our own ways, with our own lives, just simply cannot believe this is happening. But being in the live event space and in the large scale, live festival space that I'm in, primarily, it is just totally mind blowing. And to really sort of understand how we can all do this safely, of course, at the end of the day, relies on, being able to have a vaccine and be able to have, billions of people vaccinated around the world. Short of that, I think as time goes on, there's going to be new protocols, new possibilities. One of the great challenges about putting on any type of event is scaling it to a way that financially will work, so that whoever's doing it can actually come out of it whole. So if you were able to do something, and if you were able to keep the band safe, and if you were able to keep the crew safe, and the stagehands safe, and the backstage situation safe, and if we were able to do something where, we were outside and the audience was a third of what it should be, and everybody was truly properly distanced, and the bathrooms were clean, and all of these things that we're all talking about, if that was able to happen, there still has to be a financial reality for every single solitary person that's involved, so that we could actually come out of this hole. So the stagehands have to earn less, and the bands are going to have to earn less, and we're going to have to earn less, and the audio company's going to have to earn less. So I mean, I'm hoping that at least to get started, we would all be able to do something like that together as a community to make things happen. But for a festival situation, for me, I'm already super worried about the spring and summer of 2021. Like in my head right now, I have Saratoga Jazz rescheduled for the end of June in 2021, and I have no true idea how that's going to happen. I have no idea. So we're going to hope for the best. And we're going to hope that the scientists lead the way, and people behave as well as they can be, and be smart about what they're doing, and try to keep them and their neighbors and everybody in society as safe as possible. And hopefully we'll be able to find a way to get small things open first and take it from there. But it's crazy. It's totally crazy. It
is. And you're right. I mean, there's nothing we can do but sit and wait, and trust the scientists. And, for us as jazz fans, Danny, Bryce, this is obviously stuff we're worried about. When are live venues going to open? When are festivals going to be open again? Gail, you're working directly with the artists, as in artist management and entertainment law. And I'm curious, as they're coming to you, just petrified of what the future may hold, what are you offering to them that may, you know, restore some sanity or at least some faith that we can get through this?
You know, I think it's interesting because so many of us are saying things like, well, we're all in the same boat. We're stronger together. And all of that's true. But we're not in the same boat. We're in the same storm. And I think we have to be cognizant and patient with those musicians who, for example, live alone and they're very social people, but now they're sheltered in place. They can't get out and do the one thing that they really love, which is to play music. They can't get out and socialize. So what I'm saying to them is the same, that I'm actually going through the same thing. I'm very social. I love music. I love live music. And I'm sitting here at home as well. And we just have to hold on to each other, trust the scientists that Danny just said, and know that there is going to be a way that we'll be able to perform live again. How it is, I'm not sure. I've got lots of questions, no answers. But I do know that we'll be able to perform live again. It's up to me to let my roster know that. So every Tuesday night, I have a Gail Boyd Artist Management Happy Hour where my whole roster gets on Zoom and we have our favorite adult beverage and whatever's been bothering us during the week, we talk about it, we laugh, they talk to each other, out of which a lot of collaborations might end up happening. But that's one thing that I'm just personally doing.
It's awesome.
Yeah, that really is. And hey, the happy hour, we could certainly relate. We could all use one of those. Bryce, again, the Jazz Coalition is really going to help with this situation. You are directly funding the artists who are making the music that we all are listening to, that we love. If people watching right now, again, just to wrap up here, if they want to help out, if they want to, you know, join the coalition, where do they go? What steps do they take?
Yeah, thank you. Jazzcoalition.org. There's a couple options. You can donate any amount or become a member on the coalition page, fill out the form, nominate the artist or any artist that you feel deserves it or is in need. The other thing to consider, this is a global outreach. So we're reaching out to potential members and welcoming members, you know, across the world. The goal is that, you know, we're going to affect musicians worldwide. Yes, there's a lot of musicians in New York and in the States, but also part of the criteria that we're instructing the jurors when they're making selections is that it's balanced internationally, as well as, you know, that there's we're, you know, requesting gender balance and racial balance, age balance. We want the winners, the awardees, to be representative of the broad spectrum of you know, who the musicians are in our broad global jazz community.
All right, excellent. You saw we put the URL on screen, so please, if you're watching, you feel like pitching in, definitely do so. Danny, Gail, Bryce, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to chat with us about this. More importantly, thank you for putting this coalition together, you know, for helping to support the musicians who, you know, we can't do what we do without them. So thank you sincerely. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right. Have a good evening, everyone.
Take care.
Thanks.
Bye. And once again, that is jazzcoalition.org to support this amazing foundation. You select artists to commission, again, just to help independent musicians out there that are really struggling during an unprecedented time for music. They're very lifeblood. The gigs, the festivals, the tours have essentially gone away. And until we can get back to some semblance of normalcy, it's up to us, the fans who have been supporting them, you know, just through our patronage, to really step our games up so that they can continue to do what they do. Anyway, that'll do it for this episode of the Jazz's Happy Hour. I realize I haven't even taken a sip of beer this whole time. And now I spilled it all over myself. So there goes that. Anyways, thank you for watching. Some programming notes a little later in this week. Tomorrow, we are going to be talking with Michael Imperioli, actor. You know him from The Sopranos. You know him from Summer of Sam. He is a huge jazz fan and is instrumental, also a big supporter of the Jazz Foundation of America, which Bryce just mentioned. They are holding their annual gala on Thursday, May 14th. We're going to have Michael Imperioli on the show tomorrow to talk about that concert and as well as his lifelong love for jazz. We're going to follow him up with Terrence Blanchard, who is producing the music for a new documentary called Up from the Streets. And the following following day, let's see here. Thursday, the 14th, we're going to be talking to Ricky Riccardi, an expert on all things Louis Armstrong. He is the director of research at the Louis Armstrong House Museum. They have just released a new virtual museum portal that lets you explore artifacts, see old photos, listen to old recordings, and he is going to be walking us through that. And then Friday, we're going to wrap things up with Kat Edmondson, a great singer-songwriter who has a new album out right now, all about dreamers and dreaming. The following week, we're going to be talking to a bunch of people. We're going to have Matt McCucci on the show on Monday to walk through the 10 albums you need to know from May 2020. We're going to have Ted Poole, phenomenal drummer on the show on Tuesday. Wednesday, we've got guitarist Jonathan Kreisberg. Thursday, we have got author Mark Stryker, the expert on Detroit jazz. He's going to be walking us through the Detroit scene, and we're going to be following him up with the drummer Casa Overall, who's doing this very cool jazz hip-hop hybrid stuff at the moment. And then on Friday, we're going to be wrapping things up with Linda Pearl. You may know her as Pam's mom, Steve Carell's girlfriend on The Office. I think she was also on Happy Days. She was Fonzie's girlfriend. She's also a great jazz vocalist, and she has a new album out right now. So we're going to be talking to her about that. We should mention we're running a special subscription offer right now. 99 cents for 3 months gets you unlimited 99 cents per month for 3 months. That's a mouthful. Gets you unlimited digital access for those 3 months. Plus, we enroll you to receive our summer 2020 issue, which is coming out in June and is all about fusion. So again, 99 cents per month for 3 months gets you unlimited digital access plus that complimentary print issue. There it is. Jeff has pulled it up on the screen. Check it out now if you want to be enrolled to receive that fusion issue. Also, independent artists. People ask me all the time, I'm an independent artist. I just released an album. How can I get it in front of you? How do I get it reviewed? Do I send it in the mail? Are you guys even checking mail anymore? What's going on? I tell them the best way to do it is our Inside Track program. It's a very simple program. You just simply fill out all the requisite info about your album, the name, the track listing, personnel. You could send us an album cover, a link to SoundCloud or Bandcamp, and it comes directly to my inbox. It comes directly to our European editor's inbox. It comes to all of us, all of our inboxes. And I promise you, we listen to a lot of this music. You never know. You can wind up with a Song of the Day post. You could wind up in a weekly Discover playlist. You could wind up in the pages of the magazine or on this very video series. And for those of you interested in browsing some of the Inside Track submissions, discovering a new artist from Siberia or Japan or, anywhere in the world, they're all on our Browse Inside Track albums page. So listeners out there too, if you want to discover new music, that is the place to do it. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed today's episode talking with Eric Alexander and the founders of the Jazz Coalition. We will see you tomorrow with Michael Imperioli and Terrence Blanchard. I'm Ryan Zimmerman. Thanks a lot for joining me. Cheers, everyone.